So, hey, aren't you glad you stuck around for all these episodes? For us to discuss Kong, Skull Island.
Yeah, once again, Kong, Skull Island.
I should have leaned in this way, though. I keep forgetting the
I
camera
know the
placement.
opposite things always throw me off. Like I'm coming in at you. Oh shit.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway,
Skull Island.
it's Kong, Skull Island.
Kong, Skull Island.
Of all the days not to wear the sweater.
That's a Peter Jackson Kong sweater. It doesn't work.
For some reason, I also thought you had the Skull Island sweater.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
okay.
You know what? It's Peter Jackson Kong, but the ride that I bought it from was called Skull Island. So that's where you're getting confused.
Hey, look at that. I was listening to what you were saying, and I kept it retained up here.
Right up in there. Good job.
Yeah, I didn't use it properly, but still.
Still, it was a good try.
Yeah, this whole Camcast is a good try. Every episode is a good try. Some are better than others, but they're all good tries.
We're doing great right now, I think. I mean, eventually we'll get to the movie itself.
Yeah, at some point. I purposely don't have any sort of hot takes or anything like that this time around.
Yeah, me neither, actually. So I guess we'll just wrap it up. And
maybe what I want to do is continue our conversation about
Kong,
Skull Island. Okay. All right. So I'll get this out of the way, and then we'll do what we always do. We'll ramble on. So the release date, February 28th, 2017. So we're pretty close to 4 years on the dot to review this movie.
Yep. That's crazy.
Budget.
We used this 4 years already.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Budget was 185 million. It grossed 566.7 million. So very, very tidy profit, which is nice.
Yep.
Which I got to be honest, I feel like this $600 to $800 million range is about where they should expect these movies to kind of sit at.
Mm-hmm.
Like 8 million would be, or 800 million would be like, yeah, woo, this is awesome. But anything in between, like I would say 5 and 8 was like gravy, right?
Yeah.
Depending on the budgets, right? But anyway, so going back, story was by John Gattens. Screenplay is by Dan Gilroy.
Yep.
And I don't know if you'll remember this gentleman, but Max Borenstein or Borenstein.
Making his return.
Yes. And Derek Connolly. So those guys wrote the screenplay. And for the Geek Panthers, the Max Borenstein is the Godzilla writer.
Yeah, but that's a great trio of writers all together. Dan Gilroy did Nightcrawler. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome movie.
Which I was surprised by because I'm like, is he related to Tony Gilroy? And he is, 100%.
Yeah.
He's also married to Renee Russo, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because, and believe me, when I say this, I know I'm not the most attractive guy, but Gilroy does not look like, well, I guess if I was Renee Russo, maybe I wouldn't marry him based on looks.
Dan Gilroy looks like someone that would look like a Gilroy.
He kind of looks like Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler, but worse.
That was just a biopic.
Which is unfair because he's probably a fine person, upstanding gentleman.
Fine gentleman.
And probably a geek pantser as well.
Doubtful, but maybe.
Yes, it is. It is doubtful. It is doubtful.
And then, Derek Connolly, who did Jurassic World.
Yes, he did do Jurassic World. He also did Fallen Kingdom as well. But we'll mostly talk about Jurassic World.
Mostly talk about Jurassic World, yeah.
That movie was incredible.
Yes.
Fallen Kingdom had good parts in it.
I still haven't rewatched it. I need to rewatch it.
Anyway, so it was directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts. And this is interesting. He hasn't done much. He's done 2 movies. But the big thing is that he is the director of a small production movie based on a very tiny video game franchise called
Do I have a box?
Metal Gear Solid. Have you heard of Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah.
Let's not play dumb. Let's not play dumb. I can't wait to see that movie. But the cool part is you've got, so he's directing MGS with Derek Connolly.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Also, Hideo is on as a creative consultant.
He would have to be. He would absolutely have to be. But I also feel like it's got to be one of those situations where they have somebody to reel him in and say, okay, look, I understand you did all of this stuff in the video games. Some of this we can't do in the movies.
Yeah, it's not going to translate to American cinema.
Yeah. And hopefully it does good, like it does really huge numbers, but it doesn't translate to Hideo directing the sequel. Because this could be a Frank Miller scenario all over again, and that is not going to be good.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. We don't want that.
Because they're both bonkers.
If I to see Gray Fox in live action, though, I'm going to have my mind blown.
Any one of them, Vulcan Raven.
Yeah,
like Vulcan Raven would be cool. It'd be interesting to see how they do Psycho Mantis. That is the one where it'd be really interesting to see how they do him.
Yeah, like you would think they would need some kind of like, I don't know, because they had the controller switch and everything when you played against them. So what could they do in a movie to really like get the viewer?
And that's kind of where I'm saying like they need somebody to go, okay, Hideo, we can't just like do whatever you did in the games, because like, you know, it'll lose some of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like you could do like that input switch or whatever, but when you're in the theater, you're obviously going to know. You know, unless they do something where like the scene goes or the screen goes black and then it turns on again, and like there's that old school like clip missing type of thing. Because I don't know how many people know that they don't do the reels anymore. Like I would assume that most people think they still do that, but I don't know.
You know what Psycho could do is he can make the film become the video game for a moment, like the graphics of the video game.
Oh, and then they could also like fuck with the lights too.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. Be interesting stuff.
Interesting. And the seizures all
but
around.
Just as long as it doesn't turn into like the Spirit. Did he also direct the second Sin City or no?
Who, Miller?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all Miller on the second one. Or no?
Yeah,
no. They co-directed that one too. That was bad.
Yeah. The first one he was a consultant, and then for some reason they were like, "Yeah, get the Spirit under your belt," and the Spirit of all characters too. Like, anyway,
yeah.
Okay, so it stars Tom Hiddleston, who is James Conrad, ex-British Special Air Service. Samuel L. Jackson, who is Preston Packard, the U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel. John Goodman, Bill Randa of Monarch. Any of you Geek Pantsers who watched our Godzilla Camcast will know that Monarch kind of gives a shit about big, huge monsters.
Yep.
Brie Larson is, I hate this name, Mason Weaver. But whatever. She's an anti-war investigative photojournalist. Jing Tian is San Lin, the Monarch biologist. Toby Kebbell is Jack Chapman, Packard's right-hand man. Corey Hawkins is Houston Brooks, another, I mean, I guess it's an all right name. Monarch, he's the Monarch geologist.
Yep.
And we got John Ortiz, who's Victor Nieves. He is the senior Landsat dude. That's all they had. Jason Mitchell is Glenn Mills, the helicopter pilot. This guy here, Shea Wiggum.
Yeah.
He's in a ton of movies.
Yeah.
Almost never plays a good guy.
I love Shea.
So when I seen him, I was like, okay, so he's a douchebag. He's actually a pretty cool dude in this movie.
He's the coolest.
He's Captain Earl Cole. We've got Thomas Mann, who is Reg Slivko. He's the youngest Sky Devil. Sky Devil is the military group that takes them on our crew to Skull Island.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one more. I forgot to mention this. I really wanted to get this guy's name again, but it's Kevin Costner from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's in this movie. He doesn't live.
No,
he does not live, and
but
it's
he
sad.
A lot longer than I expected him to.
Yeah. He actually did last longer.
Yeah.
But I did expect him to die. And then we've got John C. Reilly, who is Hank Marlowe.
Yep.
Not only is he the best character in the movie, more importantly, he is U.S. Army Air Force's lieutenant of the 45th.
Yep.
And last one is Toby Notari and Toby Kebbell and Terry Notari both do mocap for King Kong. So the guy that played Jack Chapman also helped out with the mocapture for King Kong, which I thought I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, and
that's cool.
A nice little Trivial Pursuit answer for you.
Huge cast, like easily the biggest cast of all the MonsterVerse movies.
Yeah, I almost didn't. There's a few that I left off.
You probably could have went quicker if you just said the Avengers and John Goodman.
yeah, exactly. You know, like a good chunk of the Marvel universe, and John Goodman, and then a couple other people.
Yeah,
that you may or may not recognize.
Yeah, there we go.
So that's it. That's all. That's all the cast I'm going to mention.
That's a sizable cast that you mentioned.
Yeah, I almost mentioned what's his face, the father from Step Brothers, because he and John C. Reilly were in the movie again.
Right. Yeah, he's got that little tiny Richard.
Tiny little, like, just playing that same weathered character. He's just like, ugh.
Richard what? Richard.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, a very small role at the beginning.
Yeah. It is disappointing that he didn't have any screen time with Thomas C. Reilly, but whatever. I mean, you can only get so much good out of this movie.
Yeah. So when we talked about this briefly during our Godzilla episode, you didn't finish this because you were disappointed. You finished it this time.
Yes, I finished it this time. Watching Godzilla before this really helped change my opinion of this movie, because when I watched this movie the first time around, I think it had only been out for like a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
So, and I hadn't seen Godzilla for years prior, so I missed all the Monarch connections.
Right. Okay.
Because that, like, literally, when I saw that right away, I was like, oh, okay. Well, never mind. Actually, the opening. So that's my first like, is the opening.
Yeah,
I loved how the opening was similar to Godzilla's, but different enough to make it its own.
Yep.
Which immediately, so that's one of those things that right away I perked up with. I was like, oh, okay, all right. Which, if I had watched Godzilla and then Kong the first time around, I might have stuck through it a little bit longer. Right. Because it is kind of interesting. Because at the same time, too, this was before I realized that was an actual beginning of their Legendary Monsters universe, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. So the flashback I thought was awesome. Like I said, I liked how it's similar to Godzilla's. I liked how it set the stage, too, for the movie, like with that World War II backdrop, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
And I also thought it was kind of interesting how they employed a similar flashback sequence, too, where it was like they start the movie this period, and then after that happens, then they shoot forward to the still the past for us, but the future in 1973.
Yeah.
So I thought that was awesome. The whole opening sequence was super awesome. Nice little brief glimpse of Godzilla, or Kong as well.
Yeah, just his eyes kind of coming up over the top of the mountain there.
Yep.
Super cool opening. Showed just enough.
Exactly. Just enough.
So yeah, and then right from there we go to Washington, right? Actually, the opening credits kind of cut right in to
that's right
the beginning, which I thought was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
How it just kind of like goes from that shaky opening credit look to still, and then like John Goodman's car like pulling up.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, exactly. And also, anytime I see John Goodman in a movie, I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Even though he was a total douchebag in this movie, it was still just like, yes. Still cool to see him.
Yeah.
It reminded me of what is it? 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where immediately I was like, yeah, John Goodman. And then after about half an hour, I was like, okay, John Goodman's a little weird in this movie. Followed by immediately after going like, whoa, John Goodman is. I gotta stop calling him John Goodman because he's playing a different role here.
You are not Fred Flintstone.
God. Yeah, you are not Fred Flintstone or Dan Connor for that matter. But yeah, so yeah, it was awesome to see him. But anyway, go on. Continue with your like.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of going off of your opening credits there. Like,
oh, okay.
My first one's opening credits again too. I love how just it's not just opening credits. It tells a story, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and I liked that. So, like, in the difference being that, like, in Godzilla, where you actually see bits of Godzilla, and you get the idea that most of the nuclear stuff was around them trying to kill Godzilla. In this one, I liked it because it was setting the stage because, like, we're in the middle of the Vietnam War at this point. Right. When the movie officially starts, this is 2 wars that this story encompasses, right? So you got World War II, and then 30 years later, you get the Vietnam War, which I thought was really cool, really interesting. And I immediately also got Apocalypse Now vibes, even though I've never seen that movie all the way through. But immediately I was like, okay, all right. And
when you think Vietnam movies, you think that's the first one, Apocalypse Now. And I've never seen it all the way through either. But what I have seen is very vividly in my mind still.
It's
and the soundtrack
pretty jarring.
It's got like that same similar 70s Vietnam soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like the same rock tunes. Great.
Excuse me. Speaking of which, I forgot to even put that on my but the soundtrack, awesome.
Yeah. Oh man. That Superman mug of whiskey went down the wrong side of the throat.
No, there's no whiskey. It's tea, just boring tea.
Tea. Tea. Smooth tea. You all right?
Yeah, that's right. Very smooth tea. Very smooth tea. Whew. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So soundtrack, awesome.
Awesome.
I do like the opening sequence, like when we get to Skull Island. I do really, as much as I hate what happened, I do love the initial intro for Kong.
Yes.
Where like they show up and all of a sudden they just start bombing the place.
Yeah. You wonder why Kong's pissed.
And then Kong shows up and it's kind of like what the fuck, guys? And then has to he kills or tries to stop them all, and there's no he doesn't think of it in terms of killing. He's just like, stop them. That's it.
Yeah.
These guys come to this island and fuck with my shit. That's it. Right. So I thought that was really cool. Like visually just looked really cool, even though it was not the best setup for the eventual conflict with Kong and the humans.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and the way it was shot, like gorgeous cinematography in the scene, like him standing in front of the setting sun and just looking massive in the distance and them going just like, what the hell is that? Is that a monkey? And then from like the view of the pilot or the people in the helicopters, like just the slow-mo shots of Kong just like looking in the copters and then the speed up and turns around.
Yeah.
All of that was just crazy.
Oh.
It's crazy. And I mean, I don't blame
good.
him for attacking. You see all the freaking wildlife, the deer and stuff just running for their lives as they get burnt. Like,
well, yeah, exactly. And then especially because and this ties into my next where I like the new updated backstory for Kong.
Yeah.
I love the classic Kong where he's just this giant ape on this particular Skull Island that grows differently than the rest of the world, and it's been hidden off, and then they show up and they capture him to make money off him. I love that classic storyline, but I like this one too because when I started watching this movie, knowing that it's the second part in the lead up to Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong, I think that's the order.
Yeah, that's the order.
I was like, how are they going to pit the two of them together? Like, who's going to be the good guy or who's the bad guy, right? So then when they treat it like his backstory is similar to Godzilla's in that he's the protector of this island. He's in fact the last one of his kind.
Yep.
And all they've ever done is protect this island from the wicked name skull crawlers. That whole sequence is hysterical too. Where he's just
the skull crawlers, and they're all like, "What?" He goes, "Well, I mean, you could call them whatever you want."
Yeah, he's like, "You
kind of cool, you know."
He's like, "I thought it sounded kind of cool, but then when I hear it out loud, I realize how it sounds. You come up with whatever words you want to use." And they're like, "No, skull crawlers, fine." Like, no, it's not. The whole part was one of the many reasons why Marlowe was the best character in the whole. Well, I guess it would be him and Kong like duking it out.
Yeah,
pretty close. But yeah, I like that. He's the protector of the island. So I mean, I can kind of see how they can position the initial fight between Godzilla and Kong to happen.
Right.
Even though, considering they're both protectors, it starts to sound stupid when you say it out loud. If you think about it, it does kind of seem silly that they'd both be protectors. And it's that classic, like, two superheroes showing up, and because they've never seen each other before, they have to fight, right?
Right.
I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure the explanation will be awesome. I don't want to make it sound like I'm already hating on the concept, because I'm pumped for the movie. I think the movie's going to be really good.
Oh, man, the trailer is just... I watched that.
I'm actually on the no more trailer. I watched the one, and then that's it. No more trailers for me.
Too. I mean, it's coming out next month. I can wait.
Yeah.
Enough just to like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. I watched the Japanese cut. There's a Japanese cut, which, you know, on the helicarrier where Kong throws the punch at Godzilla.
Yeah.
Kind of just pushes him backwards a little. In the Japanese cut, Godzilla throws the punch and Kong goes down.
Okay, yeah. I think I'll watch the Japanese cut. Yeah. But then after that, no more.
No more. Yeah,
hey,
so,
big guy.
Hey, yeah, look at that guy.
We're talking about big, huge monsters.
And look
who Are you a big, huge monster titan?
I am the protector.
Oh, that's a good shot of him.
Look at that.
I know.
Handsome boy.
Okay. All right. The good boy.
Yeah, no, Kong just looks awesome in this. Like, so cool. I remember, like, when I went to watch this on the IMAX in BC, I was super excited for it.
Yep.
I am a massive fan of the 1933 and the 2005 movies. So, and that, like, I knew going into this that Kong was going to be ginormous because he's going to fit the whole Godzilla, fight all the kaiju type of deal.
Yeah, that's another thing. When I first watched it, I didn't know that. So I'm like, why the fuck is he so huge?
Yeah, and that was
like he's massive.
Yeah,
and he's a baby.
He's a baby.
Well, maybe not a baby, but he's certainly not a full-grown man. He's probably in his adolescence at that point.
Yeah, I love it. All the people online going, "Oh, how's Kong going to fight Godzilla? He was so tiny," and everyone's like, they explained it in the Kong Skull Island that he's still growing.
Yeah, and also. We're talking like a 40-year gap. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's going to be quite a bit bigger in 40 years.
It's almost like, how much bigger can he be and still stay on that island?
Yeah. I mean, he was already pretty ginormous on that island.
Yeah. I saw that you had froze, so I just purposely stopped moving and saying stuff. I'm hoping... That I had a feeling. I froze. That's why I stopped. And hopefully that'll be a quick cut. Okay, to piggyback off your thing, I thought Kong looked phenomenal in this movie. Mm-hmm. Like, it's hard to compare him to Peter Jackson's King Kong, or I guess it's hard not to, but I mean, I like how Peter Jackson's King Kong was like a giant silverback.
Yeah.
You know, and that was similar to how he was depicted in the was it 1934?
33.
33, that's right. Yeah, because it was 54 for Godzilla. That's right. Yeah. So in that stop motion style, very similar to the silverback style. So I was like, man, that's awesome that they updated that and made him look absolutely incredible, right?
Yeah.
But then this one, they specifically made him more human-like.
Yeah.
Like he walks exclusively up on his back, like his 2 feet. Yes, he climbs and crawls and stuff like that, but he's strolling around. He's not on all fours and walking like a gorilla.
Yeah.
But still, every shot he was in, he looked awesome. Looked so good.
No, and it's not just the design of Kong; it's the design of all the creatures on, like skull crawlers. That was a cool design.
I liked the design.
Yeah, for the small and the large.
Yeah, I definitely liked the design.
And all the other creatures too, like the huge spider. That was creepy as shit.
The huge spider was creepy. The giant
water buffalo thing.
Yeah, I said wildebeest a couple of times, and Michelle's like, "It's not a wildebeest." The water buffalo actually looked awesome. I thought that was so cool. Like, first of all, it's ginormous, and then like the splitting horns. I was like, "Whoa, that was so cool."
Yeah.
But I also liked how that was one of the first times where, you know, they were kind of like, "Oh, hold on, we don't have to kill everything. This thing is literally just like, it looks like a giant wildebeest." Like, I don't know about you, but maybe we don't. Maybe we don't kill wildebeests or water buffaloes or whatever terms you want to use. But I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the whole spider sequence really threw me off though, because oh man, that guy got impaled down the mouth like cannibal Holocaust style. Like just
yeah. The other part that kind of threw me too, because I was like, okay, so you have like the water buffalo, who's I would say like maybe 3 times the size of a normal water buffalo.
Yeah.
But the spider is 1,000,000 times the size of a normal spider. Like even your biggest spider, like let's say that's that like crazy Australian size of my torso spider.
Yeah.
That's still like 100 times the size. I was like, why did the spider get so big? You know, but at least the mosquitoes weren't as big.
Or the ants.
Or the ants. I wish we would have seen the ants though.
Yeah. You gotta watch out for the ants. You hear that? It sounds like a bird. It's a fucking ant.
It's a fucking ant.
The only F-bomb in the whole movie. It's a fucking ant. Oh man, so funny.
Oh, the meeting of the Iwi tribe I thought was really cool. Really cool. But the main reason why it was so cool is because it introduced us to Marlowe. Like really introduced us to Marlowe. We got a brief. So when you actually see him, you're just like, oh, because you're gonna say like, oh, it's John C. Reilly. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But then when he starts talking, he's kind of like John C. Reilly in most of his movies, but there's still just enough of that edge. Like I loved it when there was scenes where they were like he'd say, okay, all right, so this is what we got to do, and they'd go, yeah, we're not going to do that, and he's just like, yeah, okay, maybe don't listen to me. I've only lived here for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm glad that they had him say that, because I would have been like, I immediately would have been like, well, he's only survived here for 3 decades. You're right. Don't listen to him. Why would you listen to him?
When he's like, oh, you guys are all going to die. You shouldn't have come here. You're a good group of guys to die with.
Or he goes like, he says something, and the guy's like, you just said that out loud. He's like, did I say that out loud? Oh, man, I have no idea if I'm saying things out loud. I'm going to kill you tonight. And then he's just like, ah. God damn it. This is fucking killing me. This is so good.
Yeah,
they're doing the back and forth about the baseball.
Yeah.
He's just like, who's your team? He goes, Toronto Tigers or Detroit Tigers. He's just like, and then it's like, who would win in a fight, a cub or a tiger? And it's just like,
a tiger. A cub is
a tiger, obviously. He's just like, yeah, because it's a cub, like it's a baby bear. was like, this is so stupid, but it's awesome. It's so awesome. What else do I got here? I only have a few more likes, to be honest. Well, actually, even that whole sequence, building the boat, that was a great tension breaker.
Yep.
I liked that. The final fight was absolutely awesome, actually. Well, I should back up a little bit. The one scene where they were in the dead pits.
Yes. Yep.
That part I thought was really cool visually, but it also bugged me because the first thing you see is literally like Kong's graveyard. Like his whole family is basically just like lying here.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we're going to go through there. And I was just like, you couldn't even try to find another route, like not once. Like you could clearly, like I know that for the army guys, some of the army guys, I think they were like really mainly just Packard, but they were just like he's like, we have to go through here, but none of the other guys were like, maybe we'll just try our own way. Yeah. Yes, it did create that kind of cool sequence when the skycrawlers are all over the place, but but yeah, like that was just really that was a cool intro and lead into the eventual end game, right? With Packard versus Kong.
Packard versus Kong, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy Packard.
That I gotta say was really smart because I was like, what the fuck is he gonna do? Like, how's he gonna? He's just gonna torch him, and then of course, once he threw in the water, you're like, oh shit, and lights him on fire. Like I was like, oh my god, that's horrible. Like this is just so horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, how surprised were you that John Goodman died?
I was surprised and I wasn't surprised. Like I kind of felt like one of the main group was definitely going to die, other than Packard, obviously.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting him to die in that moment. When everyone started walking and he stayed back to find like fix with his camera and shit, I was like, oh, he's going to get it. Like you knew at that moment he was going to get it. And then the Skullcrawler eats him and his flash starts going off in the gut so they could just see the flash like moving around in the fog.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I was kind of surprised that he was one of the guys that was dead set on stopping Kong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like, and I thought maybe like this might be what kind of changes Monarch, because he was a high-ranking officer in Monarch, but he was like, no, we got to stop these things. We got to stop these things from taking back the Earth. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird because of course when you're introduced to Monarch and Godzilla, you know, they're literally like, no, we're just here to study them.
Yeah.
To, you know, study them and specifically, you know, study Godzilla and others like him because, you know, ultimately, like, we believe that Godzilla's a good guy. Some of them are going to be bad, but because Godzilla's good, there's got to be a couple of good ones out there. So that's what we want to do. We want to track them down, figure out who they are, what they do, and go from there.
That was more or less just his personal vendetta against Godzilla, monsters like Godzilla, though, right?
Right, exactly.
Like, you watched? Did you watch the end credit scene?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so like, Brooks he's. Have you've seen King of the Monsters already, right?
Not all the way through.
Okay, well,
I know he's in. I know he's
in that movie.
In the cast list on Wikipedia, they spoil it.
Okay.
I was like, oh, are you kidding, Brooks?
So Brooks does come back, and he's obviously more in the whole protect these creatures type of deal. So I think Monarch's way of thinking in Godzilla is because of Brooks over that 30-year span from Island on.
And that kind of makes more sense because, of course, like Brooks is originally on board with the mission, but it's after seeing Kong literally fighting to stop the skull crawlers and the ultimate skull crawler Prime. Can we call him that?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I thought you would. So anyway, Skullcrawler Prime, you know, ultimately falls to Kong. You know, like there's no way for him to go, yeah, but let's kill Kong because he's one of them bad guys. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but no, the final fight though, that was amazing. Like that was really good. And
good.
I also like how what's Brie Larson's character name again?
Mason Weaver.
Mason. I like how they kind of give her a little bit of that Ann Darrow vibe in this. How he saves her and he has that moment with her and everything.
Yeah, I liked that, but I also liked how it wasn't exactly the same. Like it was just tweaked enough, and they didn't do the whole love angle, where like
no weird bestiality love angle.
Yeah, like weird, like every prior version of this character has been like, no, I love her.
Yeah.
Not just I want to save her for whatever, like just because it's a nice thing to do. And it was a really cool scene too. I loved it. Like when she fell into the water and then he like scoops her out and then has to fight Skullcrawler Prime with her in his hand. And then, fucking reaches in and then pulls out his spine like with her in his hand. I was like, oh, that's so gross. That's so gross. I actually thought when he did that originally, he was going to do that like skull rip.
It looked like he was going for it.
I thought for sure, like Michelle said the same thing. And then when he went in, I was like, oh, it's not going to be good. And it wasn't. It was horrible. It was horrible to look at that. But so good. But I also loved the sequence too, where like he had the chain with the propeller blade.
Submarine. He's just whipping
using it as a fucking mace and shit, like hooking it into it and stuff. Like, but the fight scene itself was just like awesome from start to finish. So good, good.
Really good fight scene. Yeah, but for likes, I think the only other thing is again Shea Wingham.
Yep.
His little back and forth banter with Jason Mills.
Yep.
Love it. Every scene they're in together.
So good. So good.
So good.
I got two. These are just real quick. Cast was great. Yep. Cast was really good. And I love the stinger. I thought the stinger was awesome.
Yeah, stinger was really great and really sets up King of the Monsters, showing the shadows of all the monsters. And
that was the part that I liked the most. Like I thought it was like it was cool and it made sense that of course the people that got off the island that lived that weren't military were going to end up in some sort of debriefing situation where they basically have to go like, yeah, you can't say a fucking word to anyone about this shit ever, right? And it also explains, because like I know in the Godzilla Camcast I was like, yeah, isn't it weird how she's a photographer and doesn't take any photos? She takes several photos throughout the movie.
She's taking pictures the whole time,
And I remember thinking, like watching this time around, I remember thinking like, I wonder how they get out of this, because like I thought for sure they'd break her camera or it'd be lost in the scuffle, but it wasn't. And now I know like ultimately that's just used for research.
It was kind of weird though too that the end stinger would feature Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, because they're not going to come back for any other movies, right? Like they could just have Brooks talking to somebody there about what they found on the island.
You know what? I feel like that's one of those where, for some people, it would have been like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, because even Michelle was saying that she didn't really like the ending because she thought it was kind of too quick, where it went from like the people are in the boat, they see the helicopters, then you see Kong, and then it's like credits. Right. So and I was like, yeah, but like you can make the leap that they, got into the helicopter, and because they didn't initially bomb everything, Kong was like, you guys can go, you're cool, pound it. You know what I mean? Yeah. She's like, yeah, but you don't see it, so you don't really know. And I was kind of like, yeah, you're right. Like you can't really say 100% they got off unless you watch the stinger, which we didn't realize it was a stinger. I'm in the bathroom. And then all of a sudden I hear talking and I was like, is there a stinger? Like, did I miss something? And sure shit, I missed the entire stinger. So I had rewound it and I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. No, it's a really cool stinger. I was just wondering how they would fit in, if at all. Like, if they would have showed Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson like having some kind of romantic interest in the movie, then you could easily say that Alexander Skarsgård in Kong vs. Godzilla is their son or something.
Yeah, you could do that. And yeah, like knowing, again, like I said, like now knowing that this is part 2 in the 4-part series that is Godzilla vs. Kong, it is going to be really weird that now there's no link to those characters in the movie.
Right. Yeah.
Having said that, though, that actually kind of leads into my dislike. The weakest characters in the whole movie, strangely enough, Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, and Samuel L. Jackson. Those are the three weakest characters, and I'm guaranteeing you took up a large chunk of the budget.
Yeah, I know, right?
And no fault to all three of them, because they're all great actors. I love them all. I have no issues with any one of them, unless I find out that one of them punches dogs. Like, that's the only time I'm going to be like, oh, you guys. But that's it. Like, in particular, Hiddleston's Hunter character doesn't hunt anything. Or Tracker character doesn't do anything. And I said that to Michelle, and she's like, well, I mean, how is he supposed to track? I said, well, there's ways you could do it. You could, like, look for footprints. You could look for broken branches, stuff like that. He does none of those things. Yeah. And the other part that bugged me, actually, his character in general bugged me because his character was the classic hero character. So he's special air services or whatever, but he's still way more capable than any of the guys that are currently in the Army. So he's been out for an undisclosed amount of time, but he's still better than these guys that are still doing it. And some of them just came from active duty, but he's better than all of them. I was like, okay, all right. But they don't really do enough to flesh him out to make me want to like him.
Right.
Like, even the stuff where he's like, he kind of has that little story about the war and stuff like that. Even that really didn't do enough for me to go, okay, all right. Like, the only reason why I feel that Brie Larson's Mason Weaver could have been better was because they said, okay, so she's going to be the tough photojournalist who's anti-war. And then that was it. Like, that was her character almost all the way through. There was only a couple of times, like, this stuff with Kong was where I was like, oh, if we would have got more of that.
Yeah.
Or like the bits where she's like in awe of the place. If there was more of that, I think I would have liked her character a bit more.
Or when she's trying to help the water buffalo.
That actually I thought was really cool, even though you're like, there's no way you're going to be able to do this. But I was like, it's still cool that she made the attempt. So if there was more of that, I think I would have liked her more. But then again, surprisingly enough, this wasn't a long movie.
It's short. That's all. That's like another one of my dislikes is that it does, like Michelle said, feel rushed at times. The end is rushed. It's definitely rushed. Like, it wraps up quickly after that final fight.
Exactly.
But also just, I would have liked some more moments of just Kong on the island. Like, I felt like every time, and again, this is me as a fan of the 2005 film where we got a lot of those moments of Kong just sitting there and looking out, and you get into his mind, right? In this, like, there's a couple scenes where they show Kong, like, specifically one night one where he's sitting up on a cliff top.
Yep.
And they go up, and then they cut to the military. Like, quick cut. And I'm like,
exactly.
I'm like, you could have easily put another 30 seconds, 60 seconds on that to really just like go, oh, he's just peaceful. He's looking out at his island.
Yeah, and just give you a sense of like, yes, he is the protector of this island.
Yeah.
And yes, like, he is aware of everything on this island. I agree completely. I think that would have, because the same complaints I have about not fleshing out the three main characters, they don't really do that, again, fleshing out with Kong. They say he's the protector, and they show that, yes, he's a protector, but they don't really, I don't know, I guess, like, even if you would have had him kind of looking at the Kong gravesite.
Yeah.
And just kind of being like, you could just see a little bit of emotion there. Maybe not necessarily break down in tears, but something where he can kind of go, oh, like, this is where they died, that kind of thing. Just something to make him a little bit more emotive. Because, like, Godzilla did a really good job of having Godzilla be Godzilla, but still have not necessarily emotion, but like there's a like weariness towards the end of the battle where he's just kind of like, oh, I got to do this, and there wasn't enough of that with Kong. I feel.
Yeah, and that was my point. Like, yeah, we see Kong a lot more than Godzilla in Godzilla, so obviously
way more.
Obviously, the budget's probably higher on this one, but.
Yeah, not by much though.
But it's also too. It's just it feels too rushed in some parts with him. Even that great scene where Chapman is in the water and then Kong comes around and grabs that giant squid thing and he's eating it, right? and then Chapman's watching him, and then Kong turns around and starts to walk away, and then cut. Like, I would have let that roll. I would have let him walk around the cliff corner and then go to Chapman just like, wow.
It's funny. I agree completely. But the other part, and I'm glad you mentioned Chapman, because he is actually on a dislike, because his death is foreshadowed from the second they introduce him.
Yeah.
The second they introduce him, and he's the only guy that has a wife and a kid waiting for him back home, and he's writing this letter, and it's all this kind of joke thing. And Michelle and I both were like, well, he's dead. I almost wanted to make that Rush Hour joke where it's like, he ain't going to be in Kong 2, right? But then they drag it out. Yeah. They drag it out to the point where then I go, oh,
maybe he
won't. Because what's his face? Colonel or Captain Earl and Man, like, they're bantering back and forth, and they're bantering about the story about the mouse and the lion, right?
Yeah.
And the mouse takes the thorn out, helps the lion, and now they're friends. And I was like, oh, I wonder if Chapman helps Kong heal his wounds or does something to help Kong in some way. And that's kind of like mirroring that story. But they didn't do that, and they gave him like a real shitty jump scare death.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with his death because he had that moment with that weird log creature.
Yes, exactly, which I thought was really cool, and I felt bad because he's like opening fire, and it's just like chittering, and then it fucks off, and you're like, oh, poor guy. Yeah. He's just like, dude, don't sleep on me. Like, I don't sleep on you. But anyway, and so like I said, I actually would have liked it better if that was the case. Like, maybe he didn't necessarily have to live, but if that kind of mirrored it, I think that would have been a little bit better. Because I do like this movie, but this is not as good as Godzilla, in my opinion.
Same here. Same here. I also it's not that I prefer like Godzilla. It's just a better movie. I mean.
Yeah, like, even if I am more of a Godzilla guy than I am a King Kong guy, but if Kong Skull Island was a better movie, it's not a problem for me to say that.
Yeah,
it's no issue for me to go, no, it's a better movie. I like Godzilla more, but the movie's better. No, it is in fact a better. Godzilla is a better movie.
Yeah, and I'm a Kong guy, and I can openly admit that Godzilla is a better movie.
What else do you got? What else do you got for dislikes?
For dislikes, Kong scenes felt rushed. Basically, just Samuel L. Jackson's Preston, even though he played it great, was a fucking asshole, and I just fucking really hated the character.
Yeah, I hated Samuel L. Jackson's character. But what I did like more was the obvious Moby Dick aspect.
Yep.
But I didn't like it because, first of all, it wasn't that creative. It wasn't like, I guess I just didn't feel like I needed it. But the other part is that not only was it not that creative, it was just kind of like, oh, and we'll subtly reference Moby Dick. But the worst part is I've actually seen it done better in like a bunch of other movies. And I'm not going to say Jaws because, yes, that's one of the most obvious ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Reign of Fire did it better. Hell, Star Trek First Contact did it really good. Really good. It was actually called upon in the movie where that chick chews his ass out and goes, dude, this is like Moby Dick. You're like Ahab. And it's even funnier because he was Ahab in the movie Moby Dick. But yeah, like, so it was just one of those, like, it wouldn't have been so bad if I hadn't seen it done so well in other movies. And I mean, you wouldn't think that Star Trek First Contact would have even thought to do that, and they did, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that part I didn't like, even though, like I said, like, it did have some cool scenes where, like, Packard could have he almost killed Kong. You're like, holy shit, like, that's really close. Like, he could have actually did it.
Yeah.
And he's just a normal dude, right?
Yep.
So that part I didn't like. This one is the worst one for me. This is the worst offender. It's how the CGI was not that consistent. Okay. So aside from Kong and Skullcrawler Prime, uh, and a couple of like the water buffalo, that looked good.
Mhm.
The wood creature looked good, but the skull crawlers in general, I didn't like. When they were in motion, they did not look that good. And the sequence in the death pits where the bright colored gas was there,
Yeah,
and then they had like Tom Hiddleston like kicking the fuck out of people.
putting a mask
I
on and just slicing away.
Yeah, or no, killing the skull crawlers and stuff. I know that was supposed to look cool. I thought it looked incredibly fake. I didn't like it. It was too CGI for me.
Yep.
So that took me out of that. Like there was a bunch of times where I was just like, it just looks really fake. And the reason why it was so disappointing is that it's not that far removed from Godzilla.
Mhm.
And it has a higher budget of 25 million. Now, yes, we've mentioned that Brie Larson, Tom Hiddleston, and Sam Jackson did take up a chunk of the budget. But like we're talking about every year the CGI technology gets better. And yet I watch Godzilla and it's 3 years difference.
Yep.
And it's consistently awesome all the way through. Now, yes, I'm glad that they got Kong perfect in every single shot. That was key. And I'm glad that Skullcrawler Prime looked perfect too in every single shot because that really helped sell the end battle scene. And I also like that the end battle scene took place during the day too. Like it was a well lit.
I really, really like that because when you think
I forgot to mention that was one of the key aspects
monster
of
movies
why I
are
liked it
always
so much.
dark or they're always raining, like always.
Right. So, and I think they do that intentionally so that they can mask any CGI imperfections.
Yeah.
Because like even and I praised Godzilla, but there was a couple of times in that fight scene in the city where you're just kind of like, I'm not quite sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Like even the scene where he kills the flying Muto, like Michelle actually, we had to like rewind it because it was so quick, and she's like, did he impale him on something, or did he how did he die? And it was just, he just broke his back.
Yeah.
Just slammed him so hard in the building that he broke his back. But it was just one of those like little things where you're like, oh yeah, it was a little hard to see. Whereas this one, well lit, you missed nothing. Like it was awesome. It was so good.
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace actually to have a movie in the daylight. Like
sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say it looks like Godzilla versus Kong is gonna have some daylight fights too, which is great.
Yeah, it's gonna have to, because like even the first Kong Muto fight or Godzilla Muto fight scene was in the daytime, and that looked really cool too.
Yeah, yeah.
What I was gonna say was another way that they could have had Chapman do the whole mouse thing was when Kong's all chained up.
Yeah,
Chapman could have been helping him, or at least trying to help him, and Kong could see that he's trying to help him.
Yeah.
And go, okay, not all these military fucks are bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so yeah, like that was my biggest complaint, was the inconsistent CGI, and I guess it's becoming one of those things now where it bothers me more and more because, like I said, like every year it's supposed to get better, right?
Yeah.
And every year budgets go up, and yet it seems like in certain movies they go, we don't really have to do it as well here. We don't have to do it as well here. Like, I mean, I know everyone shits on, well, not everyone, but a lot of people shit on the Marvel movies for being like a 90% CGI. But when's the last time that you looked at a Marvel movie and went, man, that's some real shitty CGI though? Like that's some real shit CGI. And I'll go all the way back to like the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in The Incredible Hulk. No, it was Iron Man. Iron Man was first. That's right.
Hulk was
Iron Man.
Year. I mean,
that's right. So like, that's right. It was only a couple months apart, but regardless, like even if you you look at Iron Man, yes, of course, there's not nearly as much CGI in that movie as they are later. But comparing Iron Man to Iron Man 3, you're like, yeah, it's gotten better, but this still holds up.
Yeah.
This still looks really well. Whereas, like, Peter Jackson's King Kong, that still holds up incredibly well.
Yeah.
And luckily they kept the CGI for Kong looking so good that the two of them together would still look nice, but the rest of the beasts on Skull Island in Peter Jackson's King Kong all look incredible, all look scary, like all look real. Whereas these ones, they just kind of threw it all together, like the bad guys in particular. And I think that's part and parcel with the rushed feel to this.
Mm. Yeah,
because I mean, even if the runtime was the same runtime, it still looked polished, then it wouldn't be as a complaint for me.
Yeah, yeah, it's too short. Like Godzilla, I think is 2 hours 10 minutes. King of the Monsters 2 hours 20 to 30 or something like that.
Okay.
Kong isn't even 2 hours.
Like, yeah, I know. That blew my mind. It was like a $140.
Yeah, so
$140, $150, like. But I was just like, oof.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that much longer because obviously you don't want to hurt the pacing. But at the same time, let it breathe a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, like, I know a lot of people gripe about dragging out the reveal for these characters.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something to be said about how, like, you catch glimpses of Godzilla in the first 40 minutes of the movie, and then you see him, but when you see him, even they drag it out because they show a shot of his foot.
Yeah.
Then it pans up, and then you get the big reveal, and then you're just like, yes. I will applaud them for switching gears and showing parts of Kong right away within the first couple minutes of the movie. But then after that, it's like Kong in full form every single shot, and it's, you know, it's cool. Like, I don't want to take too many marks away from doing it differently, because it shouldn't be like a shot for shot, you know, for a Godzilla. It shouldn't be the same movie, and it can't be, because it's a different director. And even though the writer, one of the writers is from Godzilla as well, which they need, because they need that unity, you know, across the movies. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess part of it is maybe I might be still holding that initial Skull Island dislike, maybe. I don't know. I will watch this movie again. I can tell you that right now, and I might feel a bit differently. But I guess I'm kind of torn, because while I say we got too much of Kong, I agree with you in the sense that we didn't get enough of a different side of Kong.
Yes.
So when you're saying like it, actually, when you said this scene where he's sitting on the like, it's at night and he's sitting on the cliff there and he's just kind of looking around, that immediately reminded me of one of my favorite scenes in Incredible Hulk. And it's when, you know, Hulk is with Betty and they're in that cave and it's raining and he's just sitting there and he's just like, like breathing for the first time, like kind of relaxed, but it's also just kind of like scared at the thunder, and she's trying to calm him. And I'm like, that's one of my favorite scenes, because you don't see that enough in Hulk movies, where there's that one part where, yeah, he's crazy, you know, Hulk, and he's smash and all this, but he's also like a, you know, big human being. So he's gonna have those moments where he's quiet and calm and maybe even reflective. We're just looking at nature and just saying, hey, this is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So I agree. I think, if they would have had more of that, then I wouldn't have complained about how much Kong was on the screen, or how quickly too that they get to him.
Yeah. 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 No, a little bit of that different side would have been great.
Yeah. Although it is ironic that Gareth Edwards said in an interview that he purposely dragged out seeing Godzilla, because it was like almost like a fuck you to modern cinema, because everybody wants to see everything right away and it's got to be like a mile a minute.
Yeah.
And then immediately in the second movie in their legendary cinematic universe, it's like everything on screen, a mile a minute, go, 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 go.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got so much flack over Godzilla. Like fans went apeshit that Godzilla wasn't shown more often, or the cuts away right when a fight's about to begin. Like, it pissed off so many people.
Yeah, but and I mean, okay, and I understand that, and I understand doing this as sort of like a reaction to that. But at the same time, you know, they shouldn't be doing it because people were like, oh, the Godzilla movie needed to be 2 hours of Godzilla and that's it, you know? Yeah. Because the joke, actually, it's not the joke. The reality is, if it was nothing but wall-to-wall Godzilla, it wouldn't have done as good as it did because like one of the reasons why I stopped watching every single Godzilla movie was because it was like watching a 2-hour episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Because you know how it's going to go.
Exactly.
You know, bad guy's going to show up. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are going to fight it in their just normal Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Then the bad guy is going to start to lose, get really big. Then they have to get in the Megazord.
Mm-hmm.
And then they fight it. Then they kill it. And then Rita Repulsa, she lives to fight another day. And Goldzar shows up, and they create more bad guys, rinse and repeat. And that's how later Godzilla movies ended up being, where it was just like Godzilla shows up, or Rodan shows up, and then it's like, oh, Godzilla shows up, they fight, and then that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
So they get repetitive after a while, and we're also talking about a niche or a niche property. You can be a huge fan of Jap anime, never watch Godzilla.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, or you could love huge, crazy kaiju monster movies and never watch King Kong. Like, that's possible, you know?
Yep.
So I guess it's kind of like my Star Trek argument, where like, if they showed more Godzilla in Godzilla, I don't think Godzilla would have made that much more money than it did.
And I agree. I mean, you just got to look at King of the Monsters, and we'll talk about King of the Monsters, but you get nonstop,
because
you get nonstop Godzilla monsters in that, and it didn't do as good as Godzilla.
Right, because the like the people that are like, well, you know, my girlfriend really likes Godzilla, or my wife really likes Godzilla, or whatever, or I really like Godzilla, my wife is just kind of going to see it. You know, that there's got to be something for the casual person that goes, oh, Godzilla's a giant lizard. Okay, like, I mean, is there anything else in it? You know, it's like watching Transformers and having no normal humans in Transformers. Sounds cool on paper.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not. You need something. You need like an April O'Neil to the Ninja Turtles, you know, or a Casey Jones to the Ninja Turtles. You need, I don't know if you need Shia LaBeouf for the Transformers. Sam Witwicky? Yeah, Witwicky. That's right.
Yeah.
But like, you need something to counterbalance that. Just like you need like regular people interacting with superheroes in superhero movies. You need something human to draw people that maybe they don't care that, you know, Captain America is awesome, or that Iron Man is a great hero. You know what I mean? You need something else for them. So yeah, it's and the budget, actually, the box office wasn't too far off from.
I think Kong actually made the most out of the three of them.
Kong made the most, but it wasn't by that much.
No,
I wish I had.
It's not.
You pull up the budget for Godzilla.
Yeah.
Box office and budget for Godzilla, because Godzilla was 160 million budget, and Kong was 185. So wasn't that different? Like, only a little bit more.
160 on Godzilla, 185 on Kong?
Yeah, Godzilla was 160, Kong was 185.
Okay.
Box office for Godzilla was what? I want to say 550?
529.
529. It's funny, I was thinking 529. I'm like, no, I don't think it was that low, and that's why I said 550. But yeah, 529. So 566.7 mil, like I said at the beginning. That was the box office.
A little bit more it cost to make, they made that little bit more back in the box office. So they pretty much, both of them made the same amount of money in the end.
Right, yeah, like, it's not this giant leap.
Right.
You know? And again, like I said at the beginning, for the higher ups at Legendary, for them to look at this as any of these movies as $1 billion property is crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
No, because you said it's such a niche market. I mean, it's not a lot of people love giant monster movies.
No, and not only that, a part of it too is there's been like literal decades of shitty looking Godzilla movies. And the Japanese Kong movies also looked equally shitty.
Yes.
You know, so, and it's like, and I said Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for a reason, because they also looked shitty.
Yeah.
There wasn't high production values.
Clear as day, guys in rubber
cheesy. Yeah, exactly. You know, but still, they're making good money, and I do think the guys at Legendary look at it like, yeah, okay, but each one of these movies are making, in some cases, 3 times the profit.
Yes.
Because Godzilla is about 3 times the profit, or almost 5 times the profit, actually. That's pretty close to 5 times the profit.
Yeah.
But anyway, so 4 times the profit, you got 3 times the profit, just about almost 4 times the profit for. So, I mean, that's pretty good multipliers.
Yeah. Yeah, King of the Monsters was only 387.
Oh.
Big drop. And they threw all the monsters in there like everybody wanted, and then no one supported it.
That's because the people that did support it were the friggin' keyboard warriors that were like, this is the movie I want. But then it's like, well, okay, but are you going to see the movie 10 times? Are you going to see it 10 times and all your buddies 10 times? Right. No. So what they did was they complained, and then, you know, they went, okay, here's the movie that you wanted. And then they sat back and went, yeah, we lost out at least 200 million because you guys had to get your way.
Yeah.
And I haven't even seen King of Monsters, but I remember that one was a tough one because I really liked Godzilla. But I think it was also because I hadn't watched Godzilla so soon. So I think this weekend when you know, my wife and I watch a 3rd movie in a row.
Yeah, I don't like. I think there was too much in King of the Monsters. Like, they put in Mothra, Rodan, and Ghidorah.
Well, I'm going to stop you there. I don't want to talk about that too much.
Oh, yeah,
especially because I didn't know that Mothra or Rodan was in that movie.
What? How'd you not know that? They teased in the stinger in Kong.
Yeah, but it's been a couple of years since I tried watching Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck's wrong with you? You spoil Royal Rumble, you spoil King of Monsters.
Hey. Or wait, no, I gotta do the Pesci, right?
Go for it. I'm still mad though.
Okay. Okay.
Am I going with you? No? Okay. Dueling Pescis. Right. But anyway, like I said, the stinger, I wasn't like, all every single character on this wall. I actually interpreted the stinger as they're coming. I didn't expect them to all be jammed into that one movie. But I don't want to get too bogged down with potential negativities too, because that also hindered my enjoyment of Skull Island the first time around, right?
Right.
So no negativity. I'm sure it'll be a fine movie, even though it didn't make anywhere near the money that the others made. That's actually really disappointing, though. It is disappointing that those guys complained and then got the movie that they wanted.
Yeah, and then didn't support it.
Well, no, they supported it, right? But
watched it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they probably went, well, you know, it wasn't as good as the other movies. It was just too jam-packed. I mean,
there was too much going on.
Yeah, and then, you know, you have to sit there and be like, okay, so are you guys ever going to be happy about anything?
Never.
You know, and if it's done properly, you could have 1 million people in a movie and still works. And I'm going to cite Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame as 2 prime examples of having, like, Endgame alone, you've got, 30 major characters in that movie by the end of it? And I would say almost everyone gets something. You know, like if you're a Spider-Man fan, you got something. If you're a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, you got something. If you're a Thor fan, you got something. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just an entire movie of like Iron Man and the rest of the people, you know?
Yeah.
So there is ways to do it. And again, you can shit talk the Marvel movies all you want, but they're doing something right here. So
was Kong.
That was Kong. Skull Island.
As of now, Godzilla, Kong, Skull Island. 1 and 2.
Yep, that's right.
For order.
Yep. Next up, King of the Monsters, which I may just look at it like, you know what? If this is a fun popcorn flick, this might be good.
It is a fun popcorn flick, and it's Michael Dougherty who did Krampus and Trick or Treat. So,
yeah, I remember you told me that part, and I was like, okay, all right. But is it me, or like the more we get into this cinematic universe, does it seem like there's more studio interference?
No.
No? Okay. Good.
I mean, good. Legendary, that's run by like Thomas Tull, and he's basically just a geek like us. He throws.
Yeah, I do like
crazy big ideas that no one else, like Clash of the Titans or Wrath of the Titans. Everyone hated those, but you know what? He threw money at them because those are the movies he loves.
My major complaint though was that they treated it like a trilogy and then didn't bother to finish it. But to be fair, I only watched Clash. I didn't see Wrath because I didn't really like Clash.
I loved Wrath.
Really, eh?
I thought Wrath was better than Clash.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But then again, this might be one of those categories where it's like, yeah, but if you rewatch it, you might like it.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, right?
I got to rewatch them. My movies that I want to rewatch is right there in 3D. I'm gonna watch them.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys. That's super nice of you.
Yeah, very sweet of you to continue doing that.
Yeah. If you could come back for Godzilla, King of Monsters, that would be awesome too.
And of course, that's leading to our eventual Godzilla versus Kong.
Yep. Which I may be even more pumped for it after I see the Japanese cut of that trailer.
Yeah.
But I guess they have to do that type of cut though for Japan, because like if you have Godzilla getting his ass handed to him in the trailers in Japan, the Japanese are going to be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you guys?"
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because the first Kong versus Godzilla movie in Japan, Kong won. And
I think he was, but if I remember correctly, he was on performance enhancement drugs, so it's not a fair fight.
Oh, okay. No, that's too bad. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll have two different cuts of the movie. That'd be kind of cool. An American cut and a Japanese cut where both monsters win.
But the thing is, though, is that the movie is going to go where they will initially fight.
Yep.
And then they will team up to fight whichever the main bad guy is, which may or may not be Mechagodzilla, or it might be Mechagodzilla and another bad guy that we have not seen before, no hints at. Because I actually kind of think that might be it, because the internet is all over Mechagodzilla. Like that's the first thing 100%. Anybody said. So maybe there's another villain. It's tough because.
Oh, I know there's another villain because I saw the toys.
Oh, you idiot! Mm-hmm. You idiot! Why do you do that to yourself?
I don't know. I like toys.
Yeah, but like that was one of those things that I didn't even do with like Endgame. Endgame's toys. I was like, I'm not looking at any of that shit. I don't want to see any of it. After I see the movie, then I'll look at that stuff because, yeah, of course they'll spoil. I think. Oh wait, no. There was no. I didn't look at any of that. That's right. There was no spoilers for that, but there was something that was spoiled for me by a toy, and I was so fucking mad. I said, "Never again, never again," and I didn't. So I'm glad that I haven't. And please do me a favor. Don't spoil it for me, okay? Don't tell me. I'm happy to know that I was right, that there was a second bad guy.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was it's tough because Godzilla has decades of bad guys. And also like other things that started off as bad guys, and because Mothra, I think, started off as a bad guy, and then ended up being good. I don't know, but like, he's got a rogue gallery. Kong has nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, because Kong always had his one-shot story. Fought some T-Rex.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Kong's Kong has the T-Rex in certain versions of Kong, or he's got the Skullcrawler Prime.
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, you're right. Like with Kong, they basically just remake that movie every couple of years, which is fine. But I guess that's part of where I was getting. It's weird to position the two of them against each other.
Yeah.
Ever. Like even before, like in Japan they did it. And yeah, there's that cool visual of Kong swinging Godzilla around by his tail, which if is not in the movie, believe me, I'm rooting for Godzilla to. I want the fight to be more even-handed. I don't want it to be like. I don't want it to be like Leonardo and Raph fighting each other in TMNT, where Raph does beat Leonardo, because he's all rage-filled, and Leonardo is holding back, but not as much. Like they make it seem like he loses. He loses that fight.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want one of them to be the clear-cut winner, even if it's round one, because then you're like, yeah, but there's got to be 2 rounds. They have to join up almost immediately. Fight a little bit, and then that's it. Especially because he is King Kong. I know you didn't say that in the last Camcast, but after watching Skull Island, they refer to him as king.
Yeah, they said he's king around here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that, but I mean, I was just going off of the title, like both are Kong, right? So.
Yeah, but it's also like it's easier to market Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
It's also easier to market Kong Skull Island instead of King Kong. Yeah. And I think it might also be a way for them to keep it separate from previous King Kong movies.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
This is one of the more distinct departures of the character. Like, not necessarily the character per se, but I mean, it's just been, giant ape. We capture the giant ape. We bring it to the rest of the world to try and make millions, and it runs amok, and then it dies.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the movie in a nutshell right there. And you could have like a commentary on race with that, or you could have a commentary on environment with that. Like the 70s version was more of an environment based argument, or you could just have like the reimagined spectacle of the original. You could do all those things, but you don't really have a rogue gallery. You know what I mean? Like there's no real, he's never really been considered a protector of anything.
Right. Yeah.
So this part is cool in that aspect. So I mean, I don't know. I rambled a bit there. Sorry, guys. Ultimately, I'm excited to watch King of Monsters. I hope that I will like it. Because I don't really have an opinion on it the first time around. It was like late. I couldn't finish it, and I did hear the reviews. The reviews are pretty not kind to that movie. So I think that's probably why I put it off for so long.
Yeah.
But maybe because, and also it could be just because we're watching them in sequence, right? So
it really helps watching them all like that, for sure. Because I mean, there was a 2-hour break between King of the Monsters and Skull Island, a 4-year break or 3-year break between Godzilla and Skull Island. So
yeah,
it helps watching them all back to back, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Mm-hmm. Alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
You want a rapper? Oh,
we're both waiting for each other to do. Yeah, I know. We're both. Yeah, you froze too. And I started talking as you froze, and I was like, "Shit, I was doing so good. So good." You froze in at the lead, so I just saw like forehead and nose. I was like, "Oh, that's nice." All right, okay, let's do trade-offs. You can see us on Facebook,
Twitter.
Instagram.
You can hear us on SoundCloud,
Google Podcast.
Apple Podcasts.
You can see us on YouTube.
And you can check us out at geekbandsmedia.com.
It's a little sloppy, but we got through it.
We nailed it.
We did nail it. It was a shit nail, but we did get it.
It was a shit nail. You know, we kind of hit the head a little off to the right, but it went in, and that's all.
It's how I hit the nail.
Right.
I'm not the most handiest guy, so I'm like, bam, bam, bam. Just get in there. And then Michelle's dad, or even Michelle, like Michelle will be like, okay. And I'm still like trying to get it in there.